And is man any the less destroying himself for all this boasted brain of his? Have you walked up and down upon the earth lately? Well, I have. And I have examined man's wonderful inventions, and I tell you that in the arts of life man is a bungler. But in the arts of death, he outdoes nature herself and invents by chemistry and machinery all the slaughter of plague, pestilence, and famine. The peasant I tempt today eats and drinks what was eaten and drunk by the peasant of 10,000 years ago, and the house he lives in has not altered as much in 1,000 centuries as the fashion of a lady's bonnet in a score of weeks. But when he goes out to slay, man carries a marvel of mechanism and lets loose at the touch of his fingers all the hidden molecular energies, and leaves the arrow, the blowpipe, the javelin of his fathers far behind. In the arts of peace, man is a bungler. I have seen his cotton factories and the like with machinery that a greedy dog could have invented if it had wanted money instead of food. I know his bungling locomotives and tedious typewriters and hideous bicycles. They're toys compared to the machine gun, the submarine torpedo boat. There is nothing in man's machinery but his greed and his sloth. His heart is in his weapons. This marvelous force of life of which you boast is a force of death. Man measures his strength by his destructiveness. What is his religion? An excuse for hating me. What is his law? An excuse for hanging you. What is his morality? Gentility, an excuse for consuming without producing. What is his art? An excuse for gloating over pictures of slaughter. And what are his politics? Either the worship of a despot, because a despot can kill, or parliamentary cockfighting. I spent an evening lately in a certain celebrated legislature, and I heard the pot lecturing the kettle for its blackness, and ministers answering questions. When I left, I chalked up on the door the old nursery rhyme, "Ask me no questions, and you will be told no lies." I read a sixpenny family magazine. It was full of young men shooting and stabbing one another. I saw a young man die. He was a London bricklayer's labourer with 7 children. He left his wife £7 club money, and his wife spent it all on the funeral and went into the workhouse with the children next day. She would not have spent 7 pence on the children's schooling. The law had to force her to let them be taught gratuitously. But on death, she spent all she had. Their energies rise up, their imaginations glow at the idea of death. These people, they love it. And the more horrible it is, the more they enjoy it. Hell is a place far above their comprehension. They derive their notion of it from 2 of the greatest fools who ever lived, an Italian and an Englishman. The Italian described it as a place full of mud, frost, filth, fire, venomous serpents, all torture. This ass, when he was not lying about me, was maundering over some woman whom he saw once in the street. The Englishman had me expelled from heaven by cannons and gunpowder, and to this day every Briton believes that the whole of his silly story is in the Bible. Whatever else he says, I do not know, for it is all in some long poem which neither I nor anyone else has ever succeeded in wading through. It is the same in everything. The highest form of literature is the tragedy, a play in which everyone is murdered in the end. In the old chronicles, you read of plagues and pestilences, and you were told that this showed the power and majesty of God and the littleness of man. Nowadays, the chronicles describe battles. In a battle, one body of men shoots at another body of men with cannons and explosive shells, whilst one body runs away, and the others chase after them and cut them to pieces as they fly. And this, the chronicles conclude, shows the power and majesty of empires and the littleness of the vanquished. And over such battles, the people run about the street, yelling in delight, egging their governments on to spend hundreds of millions of money in the slaughter, whilst the strongest ministers dare not spend an extra penny in the pound against the poverty and pestilence through which they themselves daily walk. I could give you 1,000 instances, but it all comes to the same thing. The power that governs the earth is not the power of life, but of death. And the inner need that has nerved life into the effort of organizing itself into the human being is not the need for greater life, but for a more efficient engine of destruction. The plague, the pestilence, the famine, the flood were too spasmodic in their action. The tiger and the crocodile too easily satiated, not cruel enough. Something more horrible, more ruthless, more ingeniously destructive was needed. And that something was man, the inventor of the rack, the stake, the gallows, the electric chair of gun and sword and poison gas. Above all, of honor, duty, patriotism, and all the other isms by which even those who are clever enough to be humanely disposed can be persuaded to become the most destructive of all the destroyers. Mwah.